Alright, learning targets we're going to cover today are a continuation of learning target 3, defining the different forms of democracy, and also being able to, if given an example, you can determine which type of democracy that is. So not only to be able to recognize democracy and republicanism and that kind of thing, but to be able to, given an imaginary country, be able to say, yep, this is this type of government, this is that type of government. Alright, so let's dive right in. Direct democracy means directly that. Everybody votes. This starts in Athens, Athens gets the credit for this, around 500 before the current era of democracy. Good things about it, people get involved. They become part of the government, they feel like they have a say, and they feel like they have influence, and they do. As long as it's a small group. And that's kind of the biggest disadvantage. Direct democracy works really well in small groups. Class meetings, 3 or 4 friends are sitting around trying to make a decision. That works out really well. But when you get to larger groups, you get to 3, 4, 5,000 or more people, it's a lot of labor involved in counting those votes. People have a lot of misinformation or no information at all, and you usually wind up having the majority squashing the minority without any real compromise involved in it. 3 terms that you need to link to direct democracy, be able to recognize both for the unit test and also for the end of course exam at the end of the year. These will come up. A recall. When we talk about direct democracies, recalls are when voters get to remove an elected official for office. Initiatives are when citizens can propose a law to be put on a ballot for the public to either approve or reject. Usually you see these involved in things like the no smoking bans that you see in St. Louis County and St. Charles County, where they were put in the ballot and the people who lived there voted. Did they or did they not want smoking? A referendum is when a law has been passed. So a referendum that's been a lot of the news lately is this Obamacare thing. And, in the last couple of weeks you've heard a lot about Romney saying if he gets put in office, he's going to put Obamacare on the ballot as if to give the American public a chance at a referendum to have a law that's already been passed removed by popular vote. Okay, republics. We are a republic. Republics mean representation. You have representatives. You have somebody that you voted into office who's going to make decisions based on your reasons for voting them in and make those decisions for you. This also gets called indirect democracy because you, in direct democracy, voted this person in, but they are going to make the decisions, so it's indirectly decided. Or representative democracy. Again, you democratically vote the person in as a representative. That representative then makes the decisions. This became popular in Rome. Alright, good things about republics. You usually wind up getting people who are more knowledgeable, who are better prepared to deal with the issues and how the intricacies of how you get things done. And they're more likely to compromise. So the minority is more likely to be protected in a republic than they are in a democracy. Bad things go on, it tends to fix short-term problems, not long-term problems. And you wind up having to deal with conflicts between national goals and local interests. There was a big thing in the news, probably about the time you guys were born, when they were looking about expanding Highway 109 from 44 to 55, and it would have gone right over that hill in that White House there by Eureka, through W, and connected to MM there in House Springs. Now, for the state, that's good. But locally, the people who bought that property years ago didn't want it. They didn't want it because they purposely moved out to that area, into that rural area, to get away from a highway like Highway 141. They didn't want a highway like 141 to go in there. Right, so I said, we're an example of an indirect democracy. So when you think of the United States, we are a democratic republic. We are an indirect democracy. We have aspects that are direct. We have aspects that are indirect. Alright, presidential democracy. This is a political system where the voters choose to lead the government as head of an executive branch. And that's the key part. When we talk about the presidential system, the voters, this officer is going to be. Citizens choose the president as elected official. This is separate lawmakers. So it's not Congress voting for president. That's a different system.
There are also those who claim that our reform efforts would ensure illegal immigrants. This, too, is false. The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally. Not true. And one more misunderstanding I want to clear up. Under our plan, no federal dollars will be used to fund abortions, and federal conscience laws will remain in place. Now,
a parliamentary democracy is a system where voters elect the lawmakers, and those lawmakers are going to select the prime minister or the executive head for that one. So what's different? For example, the people of Britain are going to elect their lawmakers, and those lawmakers are going to elect the prime minister. The people of Britain do not elect their prime minister. The opposite party and to be your leader. So you wind up with a political leader who is the same political party that you are. And it's also very easy to replace a prime minister because, again, those people who elected them in can easily elect them out. The difference, though, is there is no check on the power from another branch of government. And there's a legitimacy issues with that. All right, so things to know. Direct democracy, republic. How do you define each one and how do you tell them apart? What is a recall? What is an initiative? What is a referendum? And then what type of government specifically do they get related to? What is a parliamentary democracy? What is a presidential democracy? And then how do you tell those two apart, given an example? All right, since we're about halfway through here, I wanted you to be able to kind of review for a little bit, kind of a midpoint review self-check. Be able to define the meaning of and give an example of the following. These are all going to come from the same document, but what does that mean? Take apart that document and interpret it for me. What is the government? What is the preamble? How do you tell a federal system different from a confederate or a unitary system? What is a monarchy? What is theocracy? What is an oligarchy? Totalitarianism and democracy. What are each of these types of government? How do you tell them apart? And then what are the pieces that go with them? For tomorrow, be able to describe which type of government your parents are, and be able to give examples of that, and be able to define the term, how do your parents apply to that, and then examples to back yourself up.